I think that we can all really agree here that Bob Iger is by far the worst Disney CEO of all time for multiple reasons. We know that he is the leading cause of why the stocks have hit a 9-year low, if not longer than that. And we also know that he is the leading cause to many of the recent box office failures by giving the green light to Kathleen Kennedy for overfunding specific projects. He's already doing the same, by the way, and has done the same with some of the other projects like The Acolyte and Skeleton Crew. We have a lot more to talk about that whole fiasco between Kennedy and Bob Iger. But what's interesting about what Iger was able to confirm has a lot to do with their upcoming film slate, their planning for 2024 and beyond, and why it spells a recipe for disaster, and it really could lead Disney into even further financial trouble in the next couple of years. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. I'm also on Twitter at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. And let's get right into the subject. Now, we know that Bob Iger, as I always like to call him Bob Liger, I know it might be getting old to you guys, but he lies all the time. This is a guy that really likes to make it seem like Disney is in a better position than they really are, and how he always says that he's not, concerned about anything in the long term, and that in the short term, it's just something that they have to deal with their cost containment plan really being used as a band-aid, so to speak. So this is where matters get even worse, because we talked about how Disney is basically restructuring their film slate and what they are about to do, with things out there like Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, Hercules, Lilo and Stitch, and a whole lot more. Well, Iger had more to talk about. Now, as of now, Disney has been dealing with many difficult scenarios on their plate. Recently, Iger had some very revealing aspects to confirm about their future by delivering the following to the public. We here at Disney value the concept of equality, diversity, and inclusion, something that we feel lacked in our previous films that were adapted into live action. We are happy to announce that we may have a resourceful film slate in the pipeline that will be going back to some of our live action remakes to reimagine those with a whole new take in the source material and characters of those said films. These reimaginings will also include films that have yet to have gotten the chance to be adapted into live action that will be in the coming years, such as Hercules, Sword in the Stone, The Black Cauldron, and more, all of which we will be distancing from the source material in order to embrace original stories while at the same time respecting the original characters. Now guys, let me just stop here real quick before I get to the next thing that he talks about. That's even more concerning, by the way. We already talked about how Disney ditched the Hunchback of Notre Dame remake into live action. We talked about that several times. They canceled that because they felt it would be way too offensive for crafting a character that would be an appearance like that. And essentially what they're doing now is that they canceled that concept and they want to embrace a reimagining of the Hunchback of Notre Dame. And it makes you wonder, what are they going to do? What in the world are they going to do with that film? But my bigger concern is exactly what is going to happen. And I'm not defending Disney by any means, but I'm always defending pop culture. It's what I stand for. It's what I believe in. Because it really shapes, the overall philosophy and how people view movies and television, etc. The thing about this, the fact that they're going back to some of the live-action remakes that they did before in the past, and how Bob Iger's openly admitting that back then they did not have enough, or it lacked diversity, equality, and inclusion, and that is something that they feel in their mind was a big mistake or something of wrongdoing. And that's why they are redoing those. They're going to be remaking films, like I said, and like he said, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland. We already talked about how they are also going to be doing Beauty and the Beast over. They're essentially doubling down on this whole DEI nonsense. And look, their DEI agenda is a hypocritical one. They're all about inclusion, but yet the 7 dwarfs are not in Snow White. Just let that sink in for a second, guys, just to go ahead and show you how flawed that DEI agenda really is. It's nothing more than a front, and that's that. Now, moving onwards. We know that Bob Iger, has had a lot of disagreements with the Disney board of directors on the budgeting of the recent Pirates reboot plan. We talked about that last week. That is something that caused a very big shakeup between IGER and the board of directors. Basically, they want to bring the budget. IGER wants to bring the budget of the new Pirates reboot to budgeting levels of the Johnny Depp films, which is massive. You're talking about the later films being around 350-ish million, right in that range. But moving to the next thing here is this. He goes on to elaborate further. We have great plans ahead of us for adapting more stories for both The Lion King and The Little Mermaid. We are proud to also reveal that we will be reimagining characters like Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland, and other hit favorite characters for the years to come. We will have more to comment on that in the future, starting in 2024 as we expand our film slate while narrowing down our Marvel and Star Wars projects. We are also happy to announce that our Pirates of the Caribbean reboot will be heading into production immediately after the strikes come to a conclusion, as we have a very powerful script that's being crafted and in the process by the Last of Us showrunner. We are also aiming to make these films on a strict budget by spending less and making less, with our cost containment plan. However, Pirates, as our film, will be our most expensive installment yet in recent times. Something that we are all very confident about here at Disney. I have no concern about our future in the long term regardless of our minor speed bump. So he calls what 2023 is all about for Disney a minor speed bump, which is yet again another Bob Iger situation. I guess, stocks hitting a near all-time low, or even at an all-time low, is just a minor speed bump, of course. Box office failures, one after the other, a minor speed bump. I think that he's really sugarcoating the entire scenario because he doesn't want to lose any confidence in the shareholders. He doesn't want them to lose any kind of, optimism in Disney right now, and that's exactly what's happening. So we all have to remember the people that are behind all of this. It's not just him and the board. It's always BlackRock and Vanguard. I mean, these are just two examples of the top shareholders funding this nonsense. People like Larry Fink has said before in the past that you have to force change and force behaviors. These are the types of people that are funding Disney, and they're not only funding Disney, they have control over a lot of other things out there, especially in the mainstream media, believe it or not. But looking at all of this, the fact that Disney is really beginning to crumble, how they have a full-fledged plan to reboot their remakes and adapt the already won animated films that have yet to be established in live action, and how it's going to embrace that whole DEI agenda. You can only imagine, if you thought Snow White was bad, you can only imagine what's going to happen, and we talked about this, what's going to happen to Hercules, what's going to happen to Cinderella, Beauty and the Beast. I mean, don't even get me started with Lilo and Stitch, but looking at everything here, guys, I would really love to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.